Sorry. All right, screen share. All right, we're back.
So the high school's running on 2 different cycles. And when we talked about this and went through this schedule, we wanted to think about how can we structure and organize a virtual learning model that meets the needs of all of our stakeholders. So we had to think about our students, our community, our teachers, and everyone that's involved. So we had to develop a schedule for the high school to replace the current schedule in the continuity of ed plan to be used if the district was forced to close and move into the virtual model, which we were. And we needed to address the concerns regarding the efficacy of virtual learning based on the experience of the Unionville-Chatsford School District teachers, students, and community during virtual learning on the spring. So we did numerous surveys and took all of that information back into making this schedule. So the high school is currently operating on a blue gold schedule where we have 60-minute synchronous periods, and they're alternating blue and gold day for a 4-day rotation. So essentially we need 2 of our typical 6-day cycles of 12 days to get through the rotation. So the blue days, periods 1, 2, 3, and 6 are synchronous, and gold days, periods 7, 8, 9 are synchronous. And we had to go with this breakdown because of TCHS and the requirements of our students and traveling to and from TCHS and just their classes and what time they're done. So we also provide a 30-minute asynchronous work to be completed on opposing days. So blue 1 and gold 1 students will attend their A, C, or E classes, and blue 2 and gold 2 students will attend their B, D, or F classes. So if you look at this schedule, the student schedule, they have their synchronous classes from 8 until 11:10, and there's a 5-minute break between each period. And again, that 5 minutes, Mr. Silva and I sent out a video to all of the students yesterday that gave them some tips and tricks of what they should be doing during those 5 minutes to kind of refresh their eyes and help them to refocus. They have lunch at 11:10 to 11:40, and then 6th period follows after that. From 12:40 to 2:43 is their asynchronous work time. And during that time, the teachers have office hours. So you notice from 12:45 to 1:45 is a small office hour or a small group instruction where students can log in similar to a lunch and learn period where students can go and get extra help from a teacher either individually or as a group. And the teachers are in their office hours with Zoom links that are available to the students. The next schedule we have is the gold schedule, which moves our asynchronous time to the morning and then provides synchronous learning for periods 7, 8, and 9 in the afternoon. Again, this schedule accommodates the TCHS students and the time frame that they're attending their programs as well. So students start either at 10:30 with lunch, and then they go from 11:35 to 2:45 with their synchronous classes. The small group office hour is offered from 10 to 11 in the morning, so students can log in individually or in a small group to get help or assistance. Another way to look at the schedule is that on Tuesday, it was a blue day 1. So students had 1, 2, 3, and 6 synchronous. And the cycle days, if you think about it, it takes us 2 days to get through a cycle day. So on blue day 1 and gold day 1, it's AA is the cycle day because students are seeing periods 1, 2, 3, and 6 on the blue day 1, and then 7, 8, and 9 on a gold day 1. So if you really think about the high school schedule, you have to think about AA, BB, CC, DD, all the way through the 6-day cycle. So some of the benefits of this, it limits in-Zoom time and allows for the benefits of asynchronous learning instruction in a virtual environment, which was one of the big things that we heard in the surveys was we needed to find a balance from synchronous to asynchronous. So this is a 2/3 and 1/3 model. So the students are getting both synchronous and asynchronous time. It maintains the period schedule and allows classes to move from the virtual to the brick and mortar seamlessly. So one of the important pieces for us was we wanted to come up with a schedule that if we said tomorrow that every student can come back to school, we can move into that environment and students would be in the same class with the same teacher, the same students, and know the expectations. And then if they said to us next week, we can come back at a 33% with 1/3 of our students, we can bring them in that model. And then if we had to go virtual again, so we can move throughout these models with this schedule. There's times provided to teachers to effectively migrate material to an online learning platform and collaborate. So during the asynchronous time for students, there's time built in there for teachers to work on their learning platform and do collaboration. And it offers daily synchronous instruction to our students. So our students are seeing their teachers daily for instruction. So students must attend all virtual classes, and attendance will be taken in each period. We have to do this as part of the state code and state requirement. In the spring, they gave us a reprieve on the attendance piece, but in the fall now we have to show that we're taking attendance and how we're monitoring attendance. Students must have their cameras on during live instruction. It's important that they put their first and last name in their Zoom meeting and then have their cameras on. Students should be dressed appropriately, following our board policy and our dress code for 218. We said to the students in the video that Mr. Silva and I did, if you get up in the morning and you think, can I wear this to school? Then you can wear it on your Zoom meeting. And students should find a quiet space free of distractions. So I know that can be difficult if you have numerous children in the household and you're also working from the household, but it is important that they try to find someplace free of distractions that they can work from. Now, Mr. Crater is going to take it off with athletics.
Aim, do we want to take, let's take questions at the end about the schedule. If folks have questions specific to the schedule, let's kind of go through. So, okay, so yeah, Mrs. Murray, good question. Students at this point in a virtual model do not need to check into study hall, okay? The question is going to come up about, I get this from parents, asynchronous check-in. How does it work? So by students completing their asynchronous work by 11:59 each day, that's going to count for their attendance for those classes. So there's no live attendance in those classes. But at this point, during the virtual model, the students don't need to check into the study halls. When we're back to a hybrid and hopefully soon brick and mortar, yeah, they will be following their traditional study halls. But at this point, it is an open time in their schedule. That's a great question. Okay, so we're going to move on to Mr. Crater, and we'll go from there. Mrs. Boyle, question about doctor's appointment. They send a note to the teacher. So I think, Mrs. Boyle, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same as we normally would, right? You would email, if we email it in, with Mrs. Smith in the office, and I'm going to show everybody the website. But I would email Jenny, and we're going to do the best we can to be flexible with that information as well. Absolutely, great question. All right, Pat. So you jump in on. We're going to talk about athletics and some other things.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Thank you, Mr. Conley. And as Mr. Conley said, I have two topics for this evening, and I will start with athletics. And so a couple of weeks ago now, we announced that we cannot move forward with fall sports based on Chester County Health Department recommendations and the viability of building a schedule. And so on that same day, we knew that schools in Chester County and in Delaware counties were wrestling with the same issue that we were wrestling with. But based on the timing of our school board meeting and also the belief that our athletes and coaches deserved a decision once we had a decision, we made our announcement later in the day on August 24th, which many of you are familiar with. Later in that week, there was a league-wide postponement by the Chestnut League and also the Central League, and so this announcement was heartbreaking for all of us. You know, I told the kids, I met with all the teams in the past few weeks and told them that you know, it's never our hope or our intention to take away sports from our kids. And you know, me personally, I love my family and I love Unionville sports. I told the kids I hate fishing. I don't like hiking. I like my family and I like Unionville sports. And so, you know, I'm still sad and sorry that these are the circumstances. However, we did have a plan B ready to go, which is known as our inter-squad season, as you can see on the screen here. And that has gotten off to a great start. the inter squad program, it is not intramurals. We actually had a committee of stakeholders help to develop this program. And the one thing we heard is that it's not intramurals. Instead, this program still has the same organization, expectations, integrity of our traditional program, only without the games, which again, we know that's disappointing. Participation in this is voluntary, but those who choose to participate and get involved in the inter-squad program, they should honor the commitment that they made to the team. We currently have 486 high school athletes signed up, and they're showing up with a great attitude. And so we're just so proud of our athletes for staying involved, continuing to support their teammates and showing up and building their programs. Our coaches are reinventing the wheel. They are totally committed to providing our athletes with opportunities to be together, opportunities to be well, and to continue training and building their programs. And so please join me in thanking our coaches as well. Meanwhile, we and the entire league really are using a combination of Chester County Health Department data, which comes out on Fridays, the CHOP Policy Lab guidance and thresholds for sports, and also the recommendation from the Chester County Health Department to guide our decision making. As a league, we are meeting regularly, athletic directors. We are together pursuing alternate scheduling solutions. We are also aligned with the Central League in pursuing these alternate scheduling solutions for fall sports. And we are currently awaiting sanctioning and parameters from the PIAA. So in the meantime, we are totally committed to creating a safe, fun, and meaningful experience for our fall athletes. And we are continuously monitoring health conditions and also recommendations, and we'll be ready to pivot when the timing is right. We don't know when the alternate schedule, we don't know what it will look like yet. But we will certainly keep everybody informed as information comes down the pike. So that is an update on athletics. And Jimmy, if you want to move on to the next piece here, and the Unionville High School mascot. And so I suspect that many of you have seen the board presentation. So I'm just going to give an abbreviated version of that presentation, because I think it's important for our community to understand where the recommendation came from. And so just a brief history here as I get started. Unionville Chadsford adopted the American Indian mascot in 1954. But really the conversation about the issue has been around for a long time. And I've said before, in my 4 years, it's certainly been around, and Dr. Sandville and his 9 years, and in Jimmy's 18 years. And in fact, I had an alumni reach out from somebody who graduated in the 90s and told me it was an issue when she was in school. And I suspect that the conversation has been around even before the mid 90s. And the reason I suspect that is because native mascots have been retiring across the country since the 70s, starting with the University of Oklahoma, who retired Little Red in 1970. And so fast forwarding to July 13th of 2020, the school board charged administration to review the mascot issue, and Dr. Sandville appointed me to lead the conversation, which I was happy to accept. I admit that the changing the mascot was never on my agenda when I started at Unionville, but after a summer full of listening and learning, we really felt like the weight of the evidence told us that it was time for a change. And so on August 24th, the school board voted unanimously to retire the American Indian, and Mr. Clark, who's with us this evening, wearing his Dean of Students hat, he and I will be spearheading the committee to select a new mascot. And so we're looking forward to using the first semester to engage the community and really the entire student body to select a new mascot. And we're going to listen to everybody's feedback, but I will also say that our current students will have a significant impact on this decision. And so Jimmy, if you can move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So just a little more background about about the journey from this past summer. We engaged students, staff, alumni, and community members. We heard fascinating stories, interesting perspectives, and valid concerns. However, regardless of people's position on the mascot, whether they supported a change or opposed a change, everybody agreed that the voice of the Lenape was really pivotal. And so in early July, Dr. Samville and I had the opportunity to meet with the chief from the Lenape Indian tribe of Delaware. And in this 1-hour conversation, he explicitly told us that the people of the indigenous racial group are not mascots, and it is indeed offensive. And we heard the chief. And we learned that the Lenape, they weren't warrior or raider like. Instead, they were wisdom keepers and peacemakers, and they were deeply connected to their surroundings and their environment. And we know, and we were reminded, and we heard that there are also people who are here today living a contemporary culture. And so, next slide, please. With this retirement comes new commitments to better honor the Lenape, and we are indeed committed to honor the Lenape in ways that we both feel are mutually respectful and also appropriate. And so we are committed to strengthening our relationship and learning their history and their culture. Next slide, please. Another promise is that we will honor the Lenape through education and incorporating their history and culture into our curriculum. Next slide, please. And this is one that I'm really excited about. We will honor the Lenape by incorporating native gardens on our campus for the purposes of education and dedication. And in fact, Mr. Hoffman and I have a meeting next week with Longwood to get this piece started here. So we're really looking forward to that. So finally here, in the spirit of sharing the perspective of the Lenape, something that I feel deeply responsible for, and educating our community, Chief Coker has shared the following letter with us, which I'd like to share with you. And it says, the Lenape Indian Tribe of Delaware is a state-recognized sovereign indigenous American Indian nation headquartered in what is now known as Cheswold, Delaware, that is governed by a tribal council elected by the enrolled citizens of the tribe. The 2010 federal census counted 700 people of Lenape descent who reside in our federal census district. As a tribal member of the National Congress of the American Indian, we support the position that the use of American Indian mascots, logos, or symbols perpetuate stereotypes of American Indians that are very harmful and have very real consequences for Native peoples. The Lenape Indian Tribe of Delaware feels there is no excuse for cultural stereotypes that misrepresent the true nature of a local indigenous culture. For instance, the Lenape, who were considered the grandfathers of the East Coast tribes, were wisdom keepers and negotiators who were often relied on to settle disputes. They were not a raider warrior society whose goal was to win at whatever cost. This was not to say they were not a formidable foe, but conflict was not in their nature. And if honoring the Lenape is truly the wish of the Unionville High School, the Lenape Indian Tribe of Delaware would be willing to work with the students, faculty, and alumni to achieve an outcome that is based on mutual respect and that emphasizes the positive attributes of the Lenape people, as opposed to a non-factual characterization that suits the need of a competitive spirit. And so I will leave you with that, and I'm happy to answer any questions in the Q&A. And I also invite our families to reach out to me via email or by phone call as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Clark.
Great. Hi, good evening, folks. I'm Pat Clark. I'm Dean of Students at the high school. As was mentioned, I have a sophomore at Unionville and 4 other children who are Unionville graduates. And so many of you know I also coach. And so the importance of making sure that we try and do the best job we can of offering a full schedule of activities is really important in my role as Dean of Students. Mr. Connolly, could you hit the next slide, please? So in terms of club information, we have a rather large offering of clubs. Could you click the activities page, Mr. Connolly? So this takes you to the activity page at the high school, and it's very easy to get. It's under 4 students, which is highlighted there. But you can take a look at the wide variety of clubs that we offer for our students. We are in the process right now of cleaning up the club links. The challenges of last spring made it a little difficult to get everything wrapped up neatly with students, but we are working on cleaning up links, confirming that clubs will run again this year. Clubs are student driven. And so some of our clubs that were led by seniors, the hope is that we have underclass students ready to step in and to take those over. If there's something that students interested in that might not be listed, we can work on getting an approval for a club. You know, a club also needs a volunteer faculty member to supervise, which which presents a few challenges in the virtual mold. But I really feel confident that we'll be able to get our clubs and activities off the ground. Could you go back to the presentation, Mr. Conley? So if you take a look at, here's our target date for clubs and activities. I work with Mr. Moister, who supervises student activities. By Wednesday, the 23rd is our target date for clubs to respond and create a flip grid. By Thursday, the 24th, we want to be able to share the updated club list and the flip grids with students via school email. And then Friday morning, which is a gold day, so students would have direct instruction in the afternoon, carve out a little bit of time during the asynchronous period, provide some Zoom rooms where club representatives would be on hand to do questions and answers with students who'd be interested in clubs. And then Friday, October 2nd, which was also a goal day, to carve out a little bit of meeting time during the asynchronous. We realized that in a virtual model, we're probably going to have virtual club meetings for now, and that we may have to be flexible in terms of timing. Traditionally, we like our clubs to meet during non-academic times, but we feel like it would be worth it to give a little bit of that asynchronous time to let our students get connected with clubs and get our clubs up and running. Some other notes, we'll have a virtual fall play. Mr. Lipowitz's 37th, 38th, 39th fall production will happen virtually, and all the information will be shared with students. And other organizations, for example, FBLA, which is pretty popular, they will reach out directly to students via email as well. Many of our activities, for example, speech and debate has moved online. Lots of contests and competitions are going to the virtual model, but we're ready to provide as many opportunities as we can when it comes to clubs and activities for our students.
Thank you, Pat. And again, if there's questions for Pat, please put them in the Q&A, and we'll move to the next topic. Mr. Silva and Mrs. Lyles as well. Updates on Keystone exams, SATs, and PSATs.
Well, good evening, everyone, once again. So just a brief update about where we are with the Keystone examinations. I think most of us at this point are probably familiar with the Keystones in one way, shape, or form. They are the state mandated exams in 3 subject areas: algebra, biology, and literature. So whether the student takes algebra in middle school or at the high school, they take their algebra Keystone exam at the conclusion of that algebra course. Biology, for the most part, most of our students take that in the freshman year of high school. And the literature Keystone exam is offered to our students at the conclusion of their 10th grade English class. Those exams usually are held in May. Obviously, this past spring, when we shut down on March 13th, that altered things a bit. The Department of Education canceled those May exams. So this affected all of our students enrolled in the algebra, biology, and 10th grade English courses, and it affected any student who had not yet passed a specific Keystone exam, or if they were a student new to our district or building, coming from either out of state or a school that did not offer Keystone exams. We are required by state law to have those students take that exam. Those students were affected by this as well. So there are 3 windows throughout the year that the state offers for Keystone exams. The big one is at the conclusion of the courses in May. The fall or winter exam takes place the following December. It's more kind of a makeup window. But then there's also one in the summer that students can take advantage of, That obviously, for obvious reasons, was pushed back, as was so much else. And so the state pushed back the window, the summer window, to September 28th through October 16th. However, specific to Chester County, we are shut down through at least Columbus Day at this point. We are not allowed to administer the Keystone exams remotely, and we thought it highly unfair to expect students to take Keystone exams, or even to offer it to them that first week that we're back, if that even happens. The winter window this year is December 1st through 15th. So for right now, and as you've heard several times throughout the evening, all things are subject to change. But for now, we're planning to offer the Keystones December 1st through 4th during that winter window. And again, this would be offered to students who were not able to take that Keystone exam in May of last school year. So some rationale for this: taking the exam in December allows students who missed it in the spring to prepare for the exams. I had already said that. But here in Unionville Chadds Ford, fulfilling the Keystone requirement is a graduation requirement. And so this is, since the Keystones are specifically listed as a graduation requirement, this gives students the most direct path to fulfill that graduation requirement. However, there are alternative options to fulfill that graduation requirement that's connected to the Keystones. In addition to earning a proficient score or an advanced score on the Keystone exam, students can meet those requirements in a variety of ways. Those are listed in our School Board Policy 217, and you're welcome to check that out. But the one that we wanted to highlight this evening, which I think segues into our other part of this conversation, is that the Department of Education recently released the cut scores that can be used from other standardized tests that would satisfy the Keystone requirement and therefore satisfy the graduation requirement here in Unionville Chadds Ford. These were just released fairly recently. Those scores are a 1010 on the SAT, earning a 970 on the PSAT, an overall score of 21 on the ACT, or on an AP exam, earning a 3 or higher in an AP exam specific to that content. So, for example, where the SAT, PSAT, and ACT, those scores would apply to any of the Keystones. If a student wanted to use an AP score, it would have to be in a subject, the AP test would have to be in a subject area connected to whether it be algebra, biology, or literature, but that's an option as well.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. And again, questions in the Q&A for Steve about Keystones. A lot more information coming on this. Steve and I are going to present this on Monday, curriculum instruction, but certainly talking to Mr. Nolan, we felt it was very relevant. We are getting questions from families about Keystones, and Steve is the one that oversees Keystones. So any Keystone specific question, you'll be certainly hearing from him. MB, SATs, PSATs, best laid plans, right? We had a great plan.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yes, thank you. So as many of you are well aware, especially those of parents out there of seniors, at the time in which they were in the midst of the college application search process and starting to take the SATs, everything with COVID started to become much more relevant in our problem, and our March 14th was canceled. And certainly at that point in time, we did not have any clue that we would be in the situation that we're in right now. And we started trying to plan for best case scenario. And for the first time ever, we had elected to do a Saturday administration at the end of August and at the beginning of October. And much to our surprise, we as well, we're still in this virtual setting, and we had a lot of students that were actually registered in our building, but were not our students. And therefore, taking into consideration the health and safety plan that the district put into place, we had to cancel the August and October administration. So we worked really closely with the College Board. Jimmy can move forward. And
Our challenge.
really, it was obviously with with our population, the desire to take the SAT, you know, was something that was very important. And we had a lot of requests for families to still pursue options. So trying to work with the College Board to figure out how could we do this while staying within the guidelines that we'd had established for our school. And the solution that we came up with, we were offered the opportunity to host the SAT on Wednesday, September 23rd, and also given the date of October 14th, and open it just to Unionville High School students. And since we will be in a virtual setting on September 23rd, you know, the space, we have the space, we're able to do that. We have about 185 students registered. We opened it only to 11th and 12th graders. And obviously the priority, if we were to reach our max, was given to 12th graders. But fortunately, we are able to accommodate everyone who has registered. The October 14th date is just over 190 students. And the registration for that is closing actually today. The October 14th date might look familiar to some parents of juniors because that was the plan for the national test day for the PSAT and MSQT test. But again, similar to the plan where we have to be flexible and nimble and adaptable and all of that Mr. Conley talked about earlier, the College Board is doing the same thing. And so they are looking at opportunities to offer the PSAT at different dates, which is very, you know, the first time ever that I've seen that. And so we're going to push the date that we offer the PSAT to our juniors into August into January. And then we will offer the PSAT 10 to our sophomores in February. They will receive the same benefits of the PSAT and SQT that is generally given in October. So as far as the scholarship test and the resources to study and plan for the SAT, all of that will still be made available to our students when they are administered the test in January.
So to just jump in here. So one of the things we looked at, as MB said, you know, it is challenging and put a lot on our staff to say we're having the school-based SAT, but we had to look at the 11th grade. So the 11th grade test, if you saw on social media, we had our national merit semifinalists announced yesterday. Those are students who took the 11th grade students who took the PSAT in October. That's how it's called, the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, as well as a PSAT. So the 11th graders, they still will have the opportunity to participate in that scholarship test. It's going to be in January 26th. Again, we researched this and I got, you know, the answers I wanted to hear. Same benefits as the October test. The students will get the results in early March so that it can be used in conjunction with Khan Academy for individualized SAT test. Now the question comes up, what about our 10th graders? So traditionally, you might know that our PSAT day is our 10th and 11th graders, but it was just too hard to manage that many students and try to figure out spacing and those kind of things. So what we're going to do, they're going to test in the spring, and we still have some dates I have to work through. Date is still to be determined. It will be in the spring. I'm trying to balance that around spring keystones. There's some sophomores that have AP courses. So it is going to be a balancing act, but it's going to be in the spring. And again, obviously more information to come for our PSAT 10 folks. It's going to provide the same benefits, and then 4 to 6 weeks, the students will get their results so they can look at that as well. So a lot of time this summer with the College Board. Hopefully I think we're in a good spot. And like I said, I'm really excited about the opportunity to, I mean, colleges have said, and MB, you can jump in, a lot of colleges have said that it's test optional in a lot of ways, but they say that, and a lot of our students say, yeah, but
Right.
if I do really well, that'll help me. So do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Right. So, I mean, the landscape of college admissions is absolutely adapting and changing due to the circumstances of COVID. And we've been doing our senior seminars this week. The PowerPoint actually will be posted on our website at the beginning of next week. I encourage you, all of you, if you're interested, to look at the beginning, probably the 4th slide in article called Test Optional Means Test Optional. Because a lot of, like Mr. Conley said, a lot of people are like, yeah, but does it really mean that? Yes, it does. There's also 3 statements from some universities, University of Delaware, Villanova, and Penn State, offering kind of their support of to our students. Just they are, you know, going to make it through this whole process, and so I'd encourage you to look at that, because I think it helped. I can tell you from the senior seminars after showing that the students are very appreciative, because hearing that directly from the, you know, the colleges that know this, we're here to help you, we're here to admit, and we know that you have not had access to the exam. We know that SAT, you've signed up over and over and over again, and it has been canceled over and over and over again. We cannot hold you responsible or accountable for providing us test results for a test that you have not had access to. Are there some colleges out there that are still requiring it? Absolutely, but you know, that's really going to be not to their benefit at all, because it's this is a global, you know, this has had a global impact, obviously, and it's affected students' ability to take the exam all over the world. So you know, it's important for students to realize that colleges are definitely reconsidering their stances. They are every day announcing that they're going test optional. So if parents of current seniors, if you haven't looked at the websites of the colleges where your students are interested in applying, please do that, because I want you to, as well, to have the reassurance from them, you know, that this is an option for your students to alleviate that stress. And if they're test optional and your student is a strong test taker and they have the scores, you can still send them. But in terms of being a requirement and an application being deemed incomplete at this point, most schools are not, you know, not following that anymore. So,
MB, I have your website up. Do you want to talk about Calendly? And
yeah, thank you. So,
you're welcome.
if you go to the high school website, the school counseling is a link at the top. And so, you know, I would say we kind of like Mr. Clark was just saying, they're revamping the activities page, same thing. We are really, because we are not able to make announcements as, you know, during the day and see students in person and share information as much, we're really trying to push out a lot of information on our website. We have an Instagram and a Twitter account. So I would encourage you, right there above the graph with the breakdown of the counselors, you can get our information. We would love to have you follow us. So we're putting a lot of information on our website and Naviance. That's where you're going to find the all of the information basically that comes from the counseling center. We don't have a Canvas page. We really want to streamline where our information is posted so students aren't looking all over the place for it. So between Naviance and our website, that's where you're going to find it. It's full of academic information, college planning information, career planning information. And on the very front page in the middle here, where you'll see the blue links, yes, we all have Calendly accounts. So this is something new that we started as a result of COVID. You know, students used to come down to the counseling center and make an appointment in person. You are still welcome to call the counseling center. You're welcome to email us directly, but we all have individual Calendly accounts. And if you click our link, it will take you directly to our to different scheduling options, and it will look at our calendars, and it will give you different availability options in terms of dates and times. And when you set up the meeting, it automatically sets up a Zoom link and sends you the email with the link. It's very user friendly, and we strongly encourage, if parents need to schedule meetings and they want to Zoom, that's the easiest way to do it. If students want to, that's probably the fastest way to do it. It gives you a bigger picture of availability.
Okay. All right. So if there's questions for Mary Beth, please put them in the Q&A, and she'll get to that. The last thing I have before I open it up for everyone is the high school webpage. Those of us that have been, you know, using web pages, I try to put as many informational pieces. Tomorrow's 9/11, so we're going to honor, commemorate the 19th anniversary. Wow. Of 9/11. So what I'd ask folks to do, if you have questions or if there's information on here, if there's information that you're having a hard time getting to, let us know. Please shoot me an email. There's lots of links here. The Zoom meeting recordings, this will be on there as an archive. Really important too that we're going to have opportunities right here. I'm going to click on that, recent communications. This is what we started our conversation about today. You're getting a lot of emails from us, from various schools. I want to try to put a repository for all of these, informational emails. Instead of having to do a big search of your email, that's here for you. But that front page, like I said, is really important for us to make sure that families get the information you need. And if you miss a Zoom meeting, one of these catching you ups, I'm certainly going to work on sending a digital version as well of a catching you up for the month. But I think it's important to start the month with, here's the information. And if you have questions, but certainly in our traditional way that we have done our catching you up. So the last slide I have is our contact. Please email us. I tend to, if you send me an email, sometimes I tend to, let's chat, let's have a conversation. But email us. Amy and Steve are the assistant principals. Pat is the dean of students. Pat Clark. Pat Crater is athletics. Mary Beth is school counselor. So those are the places that we want to give families an opportunity to reach out to us if you have individual concerns. Okay, so it's just after 8. What I want to do, and there's my Instagram and Twitter, so please follow us. That's life at the high school. I miss taking our snapshots of students and sending them. I know families really love those, but we're doing the best we can. Our monthly Service Before Self Award, and Dr. Jenkins was a winner this month. Looked a little strange, social distance with masks, but we're gonna do the best we can, as much as we can, to keep life as normal as we can at the high school. So please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and that's information that I'll push out about life at Unionville. Okay, so Q&A time. Thank you to everyone for coming. I hope you enjoyed this format. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm sorry I wasted an hour of your life, but at least you have lots of information. I hope, though, that we'll continue this. It's important to me that, as I said, it's another opportunity to communicate with families aside from, so everybody hears kind of the message, and I do appreciate everybody kind of joining us tonight. So with that being said, if there's questions in the Q&A that we'll kind of get to, general questions, I'm going to do gallery view and open to some questions. So if there's questions in the Q&A, Dr. Jenkins, you've been manning the Q&A. Any common questions we've been getting?
A lot about Naviance, a few about Naviance. So all students at the high school do have a Naviance account. It was started at the middle school, and then it carries over with them to their high school. Correct, MB?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So all students currently have one. Someone asked, what is it? How would you describe it?
So it's a career readiness tool, and it helps. It's basically a student's individual portfolio where they can do research about colleges and careers, and also create resumes, take different career inventory assessments, and that information is stored in Naviance. They start different projects in the middle school, and all of that, it basically is a nice cumulative file that shows the career development process that they've gone through from the middle school to the high school. It really is, there's different inventories in addition to career-related ones. There's different learning strategy inventories, but mainly the career piece is the biggest piece at this point for most 9th, 10th and 11th graders. And then there's a college aspect to it as well. And the students find that very, very helpful, because one unique aspect about Naviance that you can't find anywhere else is we track all of the applications that our students submit in Naviance, because we send the transcripts through Naviance and letters of recommendation through Naviance. And so when the decisions are made based on from the college, we're able to track with students were accepted or denied or waitlisted, so on and so forth, at the different institutions. So it also gives students a snapshot of, okay, students that are coming from Unionville High School applying to this institution generally have, in terms of quantitatively, what do they look like in terms of test scores and GPA? And so it gives some general information. It helps students sort out what schools really could maybe be in their target range or their reach range. But through 9th and 10th grade, we really like students to focus a lot more on the career aspect to help them really grow and develop and become self-reflective about what they like, what interests them, challenge what their values are, and see how all of that relates to what their future goals are. And we're there to help them plan accordingly, and then make the connection to, okay, with all these ideas that I have and interests that I have, where could I possibly pursue them down the road?
So MB, there's another question about parent access and URL login. That can all be found. So I'm a 10th grader. I've never logged in. Where do I get that? My login, is it my Power School account, my Canvas account?
Well, if you're a 10th grader and you've never logged in, it's because you are absolutely brand new. Because I can tell you, they sit in our office and we log them in with us. So no, but yes, if you go to our website and you go to there's a career piece there, and the Naviance link is there.
And I just posted the link in the chat feature.
I don't think the parents can get the linking.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Maybe it's
They can log in with the student information right now. Mrs. Spiegel is working on creating the parent account, so parents can log in without having to access. That's something that we're looking to push out this year.
Great question I got today from a parent about Power School and grades. So our expectation, and obviously it's the third day of school, but our expectation as building administrators is that grades are updated every 2 weeks. If that's not happening, tell us. I'm a parent who I look at my children's grades, but my kids look at their grades too. And I think the students are really on top of it, but I think it's important that we're updated every 2 weeks. Depends on the assignment. I was an English teacher. So when I got the Hamlet 10-page analysis of Tragic Hero, it took me maybe a little bit longer. But for the most part, you should have a good snapshot of your child's grades every 2 weeks. And that's something that I really ask the teachers to do, and they always do a great job. And if you're not sure, the first thing I'll tell you, email your child's teacher, or have your child email his or her teacher. But I'd ask you as a parent to email the teacher as well, because if you call me, that's the first thing I'm going to say. Did you reach out to your child's teacher? That's important as a former teacher, because my relationship that I had with the families of the students I taught was crucial. So I could pick up a phone. Back then we didn't really have a lot of email. We talked on the phone a lot, and I could call a parent and say, I'm worried about Steve. He's not submitting his work, and let's work together as a partnership and figure out what's going on. So please email your child's teachers, but also include us so we are in the loop. Other questions? Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending in a virtual world. I hope it was informative. Like I said, each month I'm going to try to do this, and we'll have a different topic each month. And certainly we'll give you some information. Hopefully these are things that are informative. And as we get into the next couple weeks, maybe things will change again. And if it necessitates us having a meeting, then so be it. I want to, as we move into this process, as things are specific to each grade, That's another reason why I wanted to get this model. So I will want to meet with senior families at some point. You know, our junior families, those kind of things. So that will be, you know, I would say keep an eye out on those things. And this is a model that we hope to continue. So if you want to stick around, you still have more questions, we're here. I'm in my office, so another couple hours and the teachers will be back. So, but we're here as long as we need. And if there's other questions, if there's specific questions that we haven't answered tonight, you want to email one of us, great. We will get back to you, but we'll stick around. And the folks that 8:15. So I think we did a good job at back to school night. So hopefully we got everybody. Have a great evening, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. And thank you again for all that you're doing to support the high school and certainly the work of your students. Thanks so much. We have some participants with their hands raised. So let's see.
Hey, are we sure? Can we get the Q&A printed? A parent had requested that. I just want to make sure that before we all log off of this thing, is there a way to get the Q&A printed?
Let's see, Pat. Good question. I'm not sure.
All right, let me.
I said that we would work with technology and try to figure it out.
Well, yeah.
All right, let me Google it. That's how I found the other answer.
I've been able to, I have seen in the past where you've been able to stay